coffee right here was $5.50, which is... So growing up, I think my relationship with money was... Good morning, guys. It's Saturday morning, and I felt like making a vlog today. So I'm gonna take you guys along. I don't have anything crazy planned today, but figured it might just be interesting for you guys to see like what I typically do on a Saturday if I'm not too busy. And so right now I'm about to head outside to get some coffee. So I'll take you guys along for that. Let's go. By the way, this cup of coffee right here was $5.50, which is pretty expensive for a cup of coffee in the US, I believe. I also do live in the most expensive city in America and in the most expensive borough, which is Manhattan. And so everything, even if it's like groceries, restaurants, even a small cup of coffee like this is gonna be more expensive than you might find in other parts of the US. I definitely don't come out and get a coffee like this every day, but it is very nice to, on the weekends when I have time, come out here and sit somewhere else that's not my room and just like have another space to be productive and to like do some thinking. So growing up, I think my relationship with money was pretty typical of anyone who grows up in like a middle class household. I went to public schools my entire life leading up to college. The town that I grew up in was, I'd say, like pretty solidly middle class. And while my family never had any major financial issues, I think from an early age I sort of internalized the value of money because my parents would make my siblings and I work to get an allowance. We would have to do chores around the house. We didn't get spending money to just go and buy things randomly. And my first job was when I turned 14, which is really, really early. I worked as a tutor at a Kumon math and reading center. And then when I turned 16, I got a job at a fast food restaurant. And I worked a couple other like summer jobs on the side as well during my high school years. And so pretty early on, I internalized that money doesn't grow on trees and that you really do need to work hard to earn it. And though that is a good thing, and I am grateful for that because it helped me develop the work ethic that eventually carried me to where I am today, it also gave me a sense very early on that there were differences between people based on how much wealth they had. So for example, one of my earliest memories is going over to one of my friend's houses after school, and he was came from like a pretty traditional, like all-American family, and they had like a 2-car garage, a dog and a cat, a pool in their backyard and a trampoline, and just a really nice modern looking house. And I remember going over on the weekend to hang out, and we had a great time. You know, we played lots of video games, we got to eat as much junk food as we wanted and watch as much TV as we felt like. And I went home afterwards and I looked at my family's house and I thought to myself, why don't we have a trampoline in our backyard? Why don't we have a pool? Why is our house so small? But honestly, looking back, the differences in wealth between people that went to my high school, because I went to a public high school, weren't even really that great. And it wasn't until I got to college that I really began to realize that there are people out there who actually think that money grows on trees, or who have come from a background where they've never had to work really hard for wealth. I have this very clear memory of the first day at orientation at Georgetown. I meet this guy and we have a conversation, and it somehow evolves into me asking him about what his family does. He tells me he's from London and his dad works at a hedge fund. And I just remember thinking, I can't imagine what it must be like to come from a family like that. And then he also mentioned that, you know, he was gunning for investment banking, and we kind of bonded over that, shared interests. And when I asked him, you know, why are you interested in investment banking? He told me, well, you know, my dad has always wanted me to go down this path. And, you know, everyone in our family works in finance. Meanwhile, I'm here thinking that nobody in my family even knows what investment banking is. My parents had no clue what banking or even consulting were. But yeah, it's just crazy how something that one person might believe is just the norm, for another person who comes from a totally different background, it could be completely new or the complete opposite of what is considered normal. And so in some senses, I do think having different amounts of wealth can definitely skew your perception on the world. So I just got back, and honestly, my room is a little bit of a mess right now. So I think I'm gonna spend the next 20 to 30 minutes just tidying things up. It's honestly one of the downsides of living in New York is your room and your apartment in general just tends to be on the smaller side of things. So if you don't aggressively keep things clean, it can get cluttered real fast.
I think our housing and transportation costs is probably the same as a lot of other people's housing and transportation. Yeah. Because our housing is cheap and we have no transportation costs. We don't have a car.
So I just finished cleaning my room, and I don't know if you guys could hear, but I was having a conversation with my roommate, and we were talking about money. Both of us are pretty frugal in terms of how we manage our money, and we're sharing a 2-bed, 1-bath apartment with a doorman and laundry in the building for a little bit over $2K a month each. And some of you I know might be thinking, what the heck, man, that's so much. $2,000 a month, that's crazy for rent. But that's probably because you don't live in a city like New York or LA. The average 1-bed apartment or studio in New York right now, if you live in Manhattan, is probably around $3,000 a month. So we're definitely saving a lot more than most people our age. And we definitely do make some sacrifices because of that. Like, for example, this apartment is really small. I would not call this a luxury building, even though it does have a doorman.
But for me personally, I don't let not having friends deter me from making videos of myself. It may take a little bit longer, I may not be able to do certain things, but I'm always going to film myself and make it look as cinematic as possible, because that's what filming myself for me is all about, is making it look like I'm not filming it. So yeah, in this video I'm just gonna give you guys a few tips and the things that I do and think about when I go forward with filming myself for these YouTube videos and whatever else the case may be. So
Hollywood magic, baby.
Okay.
We do have much more sustained damage though, which is like...
Yeah, it's kind of hard for us to... One of you recently asked me what my current view on money is, and whether it's worth pursuing money and prestige out of college. And that got me thinking about how my own perspectives on money have changed. I still think it's short-sighted to say that everyone who chooses to pursue a prestigious job is somehow quote-unquote selling out or morally inferior just because they're choosing to prioritize wealth. I had around $50,000 in student loans when I graduated college, and because I chose to work in investment banking, I was able to pay it all off by last year. But beyond fulfilling your basic needs, money is a tool that gives you the power to change something in your life or in somebody else's life. It's neither good nor bad. Whether you choose to do good or evil with it is totally up to the individual. But for me personally, I've learned that I value the freedom and the security that having money brings, but I also value my health and my relationships. So I think the ideal job is one where I'm being compensated for the value that I bring, but where I'm still able to pursue other things that I value, like this YouTube channel, for example. So I guess the question to ask yourself then is, at this stage of my life, what do I value the most? And it's okay if the answer is money. Thanks for watching.